Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackel. We're coming to the end of 2018 and it's been a big year politically. To talk more on that, really the good, the bad, the ugly, we have good representation from 4 parishes that make up Greater New Orleans. Jason Williams, councilman from New Orleans, Guy McGinnis, parish president from St. Bernard, Chris Roberts, councilman from Jefferson Parish, and Bo Black, councilman from Plaquemines Parish. First off, thank you all for coming in.
Glad to be here.
Let's talk about the good in your areas. You all dealt with a lot. People watching this followed the ongoings in your areas very closely. Jason, first off, best thing that happened in the city of New Orleans.
Well, I think I'd probably say in 300 years, we have gotten to the most diverse city council and administration we've ever had in the city of New Orleans. We have the first female mayor. We've got representation from almost every community, demographic, age group on the city council. And it's a good group. They're working very hard.
Guy, how about you? St. Bernard, things have been quiet, which you like in St. Bernard Parish.
Well, it's been quiet and everyone's been getting along and moving the ball forward in St. Bernard. This year we've been ranked as the 8th largest growing community in America. So that's something that we work on every day, quality of life issues, family-oriented events, and spending over a half a billion dollars on our coast, which not only protects St. Bernard Parish, but our region.
Chris, let's talk about Jefferson Parish. It seems like Jefferson's one of these parishes that's always in the headlines. You've revamped Mardi Gras. What's the biggest thing that's happened in Jefferson in 2018?
Well, I would think the sheriff's election was obviously a big thing in Jefferson. You had longtime Sheriff Noel Norman, who decided to retire. It was a very hotly contested race. Joe Lopinto was successful. He's been able to lay the groundwork and bring in people into positions for the long term. And I think people in Jefferson Parish rank safety and quality of life very high. So the fact that you have a new sheriff who's young, who has some years ahead of him, who is putting people into positions that can stabilize, meaning have people there for decades, is a good thing. And we're seeing a reduction in crime again over last year, which we've got the lowest crime rate since we've had in the 70s.
And Bo, Belle Chasse is growing. Plaquemines touches all of these 3 parishes, Jefferson, St. Bernard, and Orleans. What's the biggest thing in 2018 that happened in your parish?
So we've tried to really focus on infrastructure. And as you say, we're growing. One of the projects that actually touches St. Bernard is the East Bank levees. We focused on the coastal protection to put funding to modify those levees and have that protection for the East Bank. We've also focused on water infrastructure, where we signed a contract to have a water intake facility, a new facility in Belle Chasse that's going to allow us to push water down the road to Port Sulphur, Buras, Empire, Venice, etc. And then we focused on infrastructure in regards to recreation. We had a contract go out for bid. It has not been awarded yet, but it should be signed within the next couple weeks, which is going to be a 4-plex type of facility, multi-purpose center with 4 full-size indoor basketball courts. The first type of facility in our area. We think that we're going to create some revenue from it and then allow the possibility for our kids to have a facility to work in.
None of your parishes were without controversy. Let's talk about some of the biggest headline-making things. Maybe not the best things, but in New Orleans, you had the Entergy paid actors scandal, and you had the sewage and water board, let's just call it fiasco. Jason, how do you address those situations as a council member moving forward in 19?
Well, I mean, fiasco suggests that it's one thing that happened and then you can just kind of deal with that one thing. As sewage and water board has unraveled, it continues to create new and different problems that should have been avoidable. The billing situation, on top of the fact that pumps and turbines weren't working as well as it should have been working, we now have a situation where people are getting bills that are inflated and inaccurate. So, you know, now we've got a city council member, Jay Banks, will be on the Sewage and Water Board, but we, council member Joe Giarrusso as chair of Public Works, we're going to be on every move that they make, like white on rice, when we're looking for data to make sure that we're delivering on what they're supposed to deliver on. You know, Deb Elam often says, you know, trust in God, but everybody else bring data. We need the numbers to show that we are improving getting water out of the city and how we live with water, which also means green infrastructure projects, bioswales, water retention ponds like Chris and those guys have out in Jefferson Parish.
And Guy, in St. Bernard, you've seen a building boom, especially in places like Arabi, but you're also facing litigation as a parish right now. Is that one of the things that's kind of hung over the parish at the end of the year here, new litigation dealing with the parish?
It has, and you know, we need people to understand that those permits were issued 2 months ago. So right now we're in settlement discussions with DOJ, and I can't talk about a whole lot of that because it's still ongoing. But I can tell you I feel really good about the settlement negotiations. You know, St. Bernard Parish does not discriminate against people with disabilities. Those permits were issued. I would invite anybody to come to St. Bernard and see the wonderful things that we're doing. Our quality of life issues, the all-inclusive parks that we're putting in our neighborhoods. So that's an issue out there, but that's going to be settled very soon and in a positive way for St. Bernard Parish. Some of the issues we have is drainage. Same thing that we're all dealing with. Southeast Levee Protection Authority East, which touches Orleans, St. Bernard, and Jefferson. We need to find a permanent funding source for that, and it's so important for St. Bernard because of the situation that we're in with flood control. So that's an issue that we're working together right now to make that happen. We've hired an independent contractor to go through all of our pumps and canals and see about that going on in St. Bernard.
Let's talk election politics, really with both of you all. We'll start with Chris and then go with you, Bo. But it seems like the continued infighting between the council and the administration at least existed through 2018.
Well, I think that's the case. I mean, the obvious is that we've been operating in a scenario where it's not been comfortable following the revelations that came out a few years ago. That has really made it a difficult environment for people to work in. Nonetheless, I do believe that we've been able to get things accomplished. West Jeff's deal has finalized. We were able to secure the pensions for all of the employees at West Jefferson. We're still dealing with the East Jefferson Hospital and finding a suitor out there. I think one of the more controversial issues that we're dealing with currently is the problems out at the landfill, which are causing quality of life issues for people that live within the vicinity and also those that live on the East Bank. And we have an obligation to get to the bottom of what's going on there. I believe that our landfill may be contributing to some of it, and I also believe that some of the activity that's going on the river, especially at nighttime, is compounding the problem. So we're trying to take a holistic approach of looking at everything and trying to come up with a solution.
And that last topic you brought up really affects people in Harahan, River Ridge area.
Does.
But when it deals with you, there was an election. Kirk Lapine, excuse me, will be the new parish president going into 2019. But that race got nasty. A lot of people took sides. Has that been one of the biggest, I guess, controversies, if you will, that is centered on Plaquemines Parish this year?
Yeah, absolutely, it is. But what does everybody fight about? We fight about money, and that's kind of the genesis of where all this took place. In 2015, our oil and gas revenues went down substantially, and we took a pretty big beating because at the time we received around 75% of our revenues from oil and gas. It went way below 50%, so we lost a lot of our operating revenue. Of course, the parish president wants manpower to provide services, etc. The problem is we don't have the money to provide them. We have to diversify. So that was brought into the election quite a bit. We have a 9-member council. 7 council seats were open this time. We have 3 council members returning. Councilmember Kirk Lapine, as you said, won the election this year against the incumbent, Mr. Cormier. I think Kirk's going to do a great job. I think he's going to bring some cohesiveness between the council and the administration. Kirk has been a council member for 8 years, so he understands the legislative process. He understands what the council has to do regarding the budget, and I think he's going to transfer that to the administration, to the presidency, which in effect is going to allow us to get along a little bit better because we understand each other that much better.
Let me ask you all this question. Guy, you played basketball. It's kind of a jump ball here. Anybody can jump in if they want on this one. We're dealing with a governor's election in 2019. John Bel Edwards, the incumbent, is running. He's a traditional blue dog Democrat. He's going to get Republican opposition. How does that affect you all in these 4 parishes?
John Bell's been good for New Orleans. He said he was going to be good, and so I'm going to be standing with him and pushing for him.
Does that race touch St. Bernard, Jefferson, Plaquemines in any way?
I could tell you in St. Bernard Parish, John Bell's been good for St. Bernard Parish. When I talk about over $500 million in St. Bernard and coastal activity, you know, we call him, he picks up the phone, and he helps when he can. We don't agree on everything, but I can tell you, he's our governor. We work with him, and as far as the politics, I'm the type of guy that I just want to get the job done, and right now we're getting the job done in St. Bernard Parish, and everything's good. And we have a good, a great relationship with our mayor. I call her my mayor, and we need to make sure that, and right now I believe the mayor is asking for more of the revenues from
That's right.
the Superdome, the Convention Center, and we all need to be on board and try to make the representatives from around the state to understand that when New Orleans goes, we all go.
If you two could weigh in on that too, statewide elections, state rep, Senate, governor's race, will that affect Plaquemines and Jefferson Parish?
I think it would have affected Jefferson more had Senator Kennedy decided that he was going to run. Jefferson Parish typically is, in a statewide race, a Republican territory.
stronghold, right.
Correct. Without a well-known Republican candidate from this particular area, then I think it's safe to say that the governor is going to get a significant amount of support out of Jefferson Parish. I know that residents are not happy with sales tax rates. They've got to work to get those back down. However, we're also dealing with, and Bo mentioned this just a little while ago, there's touting about the fact of where gas prices are. And it's great for the consumer that gas is at $1.98 a gallon. But when you look at how Louisiana's financial structure is established, both on a state level and a local level to a large degree, our jobs are dependent upon oil and gas being up. And I think that we may not have seen the worst of the downturn if these gas prices continue to be the way they are. And I realize some residents love to pull up to the station and fill up at $1.98 a gallon. However,
I'm one of them.
Correct, and you're not directly tied to the industry per se, but the jobs are what's important. And when you look at Louisiana, we're in the energy industry and we're in the tourism industry, and seafood to an extent within this region. So tourism's doing fabulous. I think if you look at the city of New Orleans numbers, they're probably one of the highest they've had in years. I was very happy to hear that their homicide rate is so low.
Lowest in almost 50 years.
Right. And so goes New Orleans, so goes the region. However, I know a number of people that are tied to or indirectly tied to the oil and gas industry that are struggling. And I think you're going to see some more bankruptcies by major corporations, and we're going to see more consolidation where some people who have previously worked here in New Orleans may be moved to Houston and other places as those companies consolidate.
Let's hope that's not the case. We could talk all day about this topic, but we do have to finally wrap up here. Let's start with you, Bo, and we'll go down the line here. What's the biggest thing that you're looking forward to and that residents watching this in Plaquemines should be looking forward to as we head into 2019?
The first thing is that the council and the president's office will work together. That's something we have to do in order to make government work. I think the president, he and I have spoken, the president-elect, Mr. Lapine, and there needs to be a more effective, efficient type of government. We're not of the days where we have unlimited amount of funds, like Chris said, because our oil and gas prices have gone down so much. So we need to correct that. We need to do something different. It's time to make some changes. I look forward to working with my colleagues here and my counterparts in Jefferson, St. Bernard, and Orleans Parish, as we've done. I've already worked with Councilmember Williams on crime cameras. That's something we want to keep low in Plaquemines Parish. We border Algiers. He was able to help us achieve that and get a crime camera on Woodland Highway. That helps protect us. So those are some of the things.
Chris, is it the election coming up this fall for Jefferson Parish? Is that the thing you have circled on your calendar? Is that going to be the biggest event for residents in Jefferson?
Election years are always difficult, okay, because you have people jockeying for different positions. You have some people that are term limited, and they're looking to run for at-large seats. Myself, I'm term limited. With that being said, we also have a government to run too. I think the increasing difficulty for us is the news recently that Mr. Yenny's number 2 and number 3 administrators are leaving parish government at the end of the year. We've also lost some very long time established parish employees through retirement and attrition. And I think that's where our challenge is going to be, is to make sure that we keep the ship guided and that we continue to move forward at least through the fall, where we know at that point in time where our leadership's going to be.
Really quickly, Guy, in about 1 minute, what are you looking forward to in 2019 for St. Bernard?
I'm looking forward to this year, and I look at my job as to make sure that we keep the eye on the ball and do our job and try to keep the election in the back burner. I know that's going to be hard. It's the first time.
Because you're up for re-election as well.
I'm up for re-election as well, but when you start worrying about the election, I think you get off course on the job that you're doing. We're doing such great things in St. Bernard Parish. I want to make sure we continue to be one of the safest parishes in the region. I'm looking forward to our educational system and promoting that, and continue to provide the infrastructure for people to move in and provide an affordable, nice home and next to the best city in the world, right? So I'm looking forward to this year. Drainage is going to be a big issue for St. Bernard Parish, subsurface drainage. And we're looking for a great year in St. Bernard Parish.
All right, Jason, finally, we have about 30 seconds for you. You get the shortest amount of time,
That's
unfortunately.
fine.
But what are you looking forward to in New Orleans in 2019?
I pushed really hard with the last council and this council on criminal justice reform, being smart on crime. Mentioned the governor, John Bel Edwards, a very aggressive criminal justice reform package came from the state, and crime is going down, violent crime is going down, the murder rate is low. So we want to keep pressing those numbers down, and we want to keep our foot on the gas on criminal justice reform because it's paying off. And the payoff is true public safety.
All right. Jason Williams from New Orleans, Guy McGinnis from St. Bernard, Chris Roberts from Jefferson, and Bo Black from Plaquemines. Thank you all for being here.
Glad to be here.
This is one of the final hot seats for 2018. You can see this entire interview online starting tomorrow on Christmas Eve. For now, I'm Travers Mackel. Let's send it back to you.